It's weird talking about it now that I know how the story ends, right? Not that my
Mm.
story's over, but now that I know that there ends with redemption and that it ends with like this beautiful rainbow of my daughter, it's a very sweet, and I'm so privileged I get to share this story with the comfort of that knowledge. But I know that a lot of people are right in the middle of that gray cloud storm, and there's like no worse place to be for sure.
Welcome to the Hope Mindset Podcast. I'm Mikhayla Hughes-Shaw, and 10 years ago, I started a movement called How About Hope, and the HOPE stands for helping others and providing encouragement. The Hope Mindset Podcast is all about telling stories of struggle turned strength. What's up, you guys? I am so happy to be back with you. It's been literally way too long. I can't believe how long it has been since I have chatted with you here on the podcast, but I do believe that everything happens for a reason. There are so many life updates to share with you all, but one of the biggest things, I was diagnosed with ADHD at the big age of 28 years old, and everything just kind of makes sense. And I would say that the task paralysis part of that and wanting everything to be perfect is kind of what has led me to this taking quite a long time to get another episode out. But like I said, I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. And I feel like the timing of putting out this episode is actually kind of perfect. We are in Miss America season. And what I mean by that is the national competition has started. We are just days away from crowning a new winner. And maybe by the time that you listen to this, we will have a new winner. But my fingers are crossed for Iowa because we have yet to win a national title. And it's about time. So best of luck to my girl Lydia. And I say all of this to say, our guest is none other than Miss America 2017 Savvy Shields. I'm so excited to have this conversation and to bring it to you all. But I do have to preface this with saying that we are covering some very heavy things today. And so it is really important for us to put out a trigger warning that we are going to be talking about navigating pregnancy loss. Savvy selflessly and openly shared about navigating pregnancy loss and what that looks like, what life looks like after that kind of grief, and how you live with that kind of grief. Savvy is now a new mom, and she is a wife to Nate. They live in New York, and life is beautiful. And I'm excited for you all to hear kind of the journey to how she got there. And for our pageantry folks out there, we are, of course, talking about navigating life with the crown, after the crown. Get cozy and get ready for some real talk. Very fortunate to share this with you today. So, when I first started competing, I want to say my first local was in 2015.
Okay.
And I did one in 2015, and then I did not do another pageant for a year and a half. And
Really?
then
Wait.
yes,
Wait, are we recording right now? Because I want to hear this story.
oh yeah.
Okay,
I think
perfect.
it's
Okay,
already
great.
recorded.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. I was like, wait, I want to hear this. Okay, good.
Yes. So my first local was in 2015, and I got recruited at this community event that I was performing violin at. And I
Mm.
remember like the DeLongs, they will probably hear this. I'll make sure that they do. But Stacy DeLong came up to me and was like, have you ever thought about doing a pageant? And I was like,
No.
That's a good show.
Definitely haven't.
Yeah.
And they were like, "We just think, like, you would be a really good fit, like, there's a scholarship aspect to it, and your talent is great," and I'm like, "Okay,
Mm.
sure." So I did it, and I was like, "Wow, this was great," and, like, I didn't do another one until 2017. It was, like, the sweep season
Okay.
of
Yeah.
2017, and, I came back, did one, and then I didn't win that local, and I, like, was really okay with that, like,
Hmm.
once again, second pageant ever, but a lot of folks had encouraged me, "Hey, like, do one more," so I did, and then I went to state as a sweeps title holder, Miss Wild Rose, way back in the day,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
want to say I think you were Miss America when I first, not in 2015, but
In
when,
2017. Yeah, yeah,
yes, I was gonna say, like, during that first, local season that I actually, like, when I got invested, I was like, "Oh my gosh,
sure.
I love
It's
this
very
girl."
different. Very different. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I loved about your time as Miss America was just like you were very good about doing like mental health check-ins on stories or just sharing
Mm.
like some of the more real moments. Like I just felt like you were a very relatable Miss America, even though I know
Mm.
now on the flip side of that that there's a lot that you didn't share that you shared
Sure.
after that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Um I feel like you've always been, kind of real about when times of struggle have come about. And another thing that I
Mm.
think that you articulated really well after your reign, you talked a lot about what it was really like to be a title holder and
Mm.
also how that impacted your mental health.
Mm.
Um, and I just remember thinking that that was a really cool thing that you were opening up about that because I don't think that people necessarily understand the work that goes into being a title holder.
No, no, I completely. I think what's interesting is I think the reason why I was able to do that was it was kind of the first, maybe second or third year that social media was really around during Miss America, and it was kind of still this unknown territory of how were we not allowed to use it, but how were we even supposed to use it? And so my kind of method was, I'll ask for forgiveness later. I'm just going to post what I think I should be posting. I'm going to be doing what I would want to see a Miss America be sharing. And I think that just kind of came from the nature of, and you're so kind to mention that. There's so many ins and outs that we can go into, but that for me was honestly a selfish endeavor because I felt a community of not just the people
Mhm.
that I was interacting with, in that state, in that day, during that appearance, but I was able to, through, the social media awareness of America, connect through people across the country and have those touch points. And we even mentioned this just earlier, but community, I feel like, is everything when we're going through hard times, when we're self-sabotaging. What I find in my life, in my past, has pulled me out is the community that you choose to surround yourself with.
Mhm.
And the initial sharing is the scariest part. Whenever
Yes.
you once it's out there, there's nothing but freedom and joy and weight being lifted off of you. And I think that it's also a contagious thing. I think whenever I surrounded myself with people who were very vulnerable about what they were going through as a title holder or just as a normal human being, I found so much comfort in those people, and those were who I wanted to be like. And it's a contagious attribute to see in someone when they're so vulnerable and they're confident in their struggles. You gravitate, or at least I gravitate towards those type of people, and I think it's very encouraging to be around because it's just a reminder that it's everyone. Like no one goes through this life unscathed, and acting
Mhm.
like you are is self-sabotaging because you're not gaining anything from that. You're only hurting yourself more and limiting the growth that you can have and what you really are struggling with.
Mentally, what was it like to be Miss America?
Someone told me at the beginning of my year, you're going to come out of this a much different version of yourself, but it's just a year. and that's all you have. You can't redo it. It's just a year, which is a very specific piece of advice for a very specific job. I don't think that piece of advice goes for how we should live our life in general. I think this only really goes for this time. And so in my head, I knew that it would be for a year. And I kind of pushed through a lot. So, like we even talked about, I didn't share a lot of the deep, deep issues that I was struggling with until afterwards, because truthfully, I didn't have the time or the ability to process what was going on until afterwards. And I think
Mhm.
it's important to, I mean, this is a different conversation, but before I'm sharing things online or before I'm talking about mental health, I think it's important that I actually do the work first before I talk about it. And so for me, it was
Yes.
really important to actually do the work and figure out what in the world just happened to me before I was much more vulnerable about it. Um, but it was very difficult. You know, I say all the time that it was the best and hardest year of my life at that time. You know, that was it's almost 10 years ago, which is so wild and so insane. That's a almost a decade of life has happened since then. And so I've lived a lot more life and a lot more beautiful and a lot more harder things have happened since then. But at that time, it was the best and hardest year of my life for a multitude of reasons. You experience the highest highs and lowest lows. And so there was just nothing was constant. And when you're doing that every single day for an entire year in a different state every 48 hours, you come out the end of it a very different version of yourself. But I really liked that version of myself at the end. You know, someone told me actually at the beginning, they said you're going to be a much more assertive and aggressive version of yourself. And I
Mm.
heard that at the beginning and I didn't like it. And I was like, "Oh, I don't want those attributes. I don't want to be that way." It makes me laugh now because those are my favorite parts about me nowadays of how assertive and aggressive I can be because of that year. And it's so interesting how, you know, what attributes I think seem so foreign to us and scare us about ourselves. I think it's like not like a shadow side of us, but a side that maybe we feel like we can't tap into. And then when we do, it's very liberating.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I think it just, this is a whole other podcast episode, I'm sure. But even just thinking of being assertive as a woman, right? And
Yes, it's an
being
entirely different ballgame. Yeah,
aggressive as a
absolutely.
woman,
Yes.
there's
Well, I
just a
think too,
whole
also in
nother layer
pageantry, where there's like this, how are you presenting yourself, right? That's a
all the
huge
time.
theme in pageantry. A huge thing in womanhood is how are you performing, right? Especially now with
Mhm.
social media, we're perceiving ourselves being perceived by thousands of people constantly. And so
Ooh.
the art of performing, I think, never really goes away. And if I think a lot of people who grow up in pageantry, it's harder to turn that switch off. It's harder to stop, you know, our pageant voice, right? I feel like we all had that very timid, very sweet, very calm, very demure pageant voice that it wasn't real for any of us. And I think it takes a long time to shake that and be like, okay, yes, that's a fun side of us, but how are we really? How are we not like just molding ourselves to be what we're supposed to be, but what does that look like at our core?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, that is so true. And it's a lot of unlearning in a
A
weird way.
lot, yeah. No, for sure.
And
Oh, totally. I
yeah.
feel like I had to relearn how to talk, how to answer questions, I was
Hmm.
like, what is my opinion? Do I actually see both sides? You know what I'm saying? Like whenever you talk about in interviews and things like that, it's a very interesting thing to, I think when a lot of women are people pleasers, and that's a lifetime of unlearning how to not
Hmm.
do that. It's a good attribute in small doses.
In small doses. I think on the aspect of mentally, what I didn't realize it was doing to me was like it was a year of saying yes, just
Exactly.
all of
Exactly.
it, like regardless of
Totally.
like
Yeah,
rest
yeah.
and like not even really take what was rest. That rest was not a
We're
thing
still tired.
for
It's fine.
me, at least. Yeah,
Yeah.
genuinely. It's been, I can't believe when you just said like it's been almost 10 years. I mean, wow, that is
Isn't
so
that
true though.
wild?
It
It
is so
feels
wild.
it feels longer, but also like it was last year at the same time.
Mhm.
I'm not
Definitely.
sure how, but
No, it's so true though, because sometimes you can take yourself right back to that place, but
mhm.
then in the present you might be like, "Oh, like you are a mom now." That's
And that's like where I think for me is such a signifying line of in my life. That there's a few different lines in my life that brought me further. And I think this is a part of the my mental health during Miss America was it became my identity. And that
Yes.
was what made me like special. That's what made me worthy and validated was that title. And that was a very hard thing because as soon as the next girl is Miss America, you are no longer. You are no longer. And so for a very long time, that kind of leaves you swimming and it kind of leaves you like treading water, trying to find your next island of identity in a sense. And so
Mhm.
I think a few signifiers in my life was when we moved to New York that felt like, okay, like now I can, this is a different thing about me that I can become. And I think it just takes time, truthfully. And I kind of relate this to, and in other times I've talked to people about this, like when there's been a moment of trauma in your life, and it's hard, I think, sometimes to separate our identities from the trauma that happens to us externally. We internalize that as something as who we are as a core identifier in our being. But I think that the farther apart we get from these dates or these times, these instances, it's just time, which is so annoying. But we gather more of our identity. The grief and the trauma doesn't shrink, but our life grows outside of it. And that becomes more
Mhm.
and more of who we are, which is so frustrating. I think I remember I asked Debbie Turner Bell, Miss America, I asked her, when did you feel normal after your year? And this is when I was Miss America. And I was like, how long did it take for you to feel normal again? And she goes, you're not going to like my answer. And I was like, what? And she was like, 5 or 10 years. I was like, 5 or 10 years? I'm like, Debbie. Whenever I think of my identity, like, and I self actualize it, it's one of the furthest things that I think of nowadays, which is weird, but it's special.
I don't think you even recognize how much of like how big of a part of your identity it is
Hmm. Hmm.
until it's not there anymore. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay. And in my career path, I went straight into TV. So then
Hmm.
that's a whole other set of like ways that you're supposed to show up, right? And how you
Hmm.
should present in a certain way. And so I always jokingly said, but it's true, that being Miss Iowa set me up for my career because I could not publicly have an opinion about politics or certain, human rights things or just like
Hmm.
you kind of always have to just be neutral, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
talk about an interesting time to be a title holder when politics. Oh, I didn't think about. Yeah, you were Miss America at a very crazy time. And so yeah, there's been a lot of like politically contentious times, but
Yeah.
we just had to represent the organization and you kind of have to put that aside or you have to find ways to articulate some sort of comment about it but always still like oh like seeing both sides, right?
Yep.
So it set me up to you know, do the work that I've done for the past however many years. But I think I am just now kind of coming into a new version of myself. And which I also think we have a lot more versions of ourselves to meet. Like, that is one thing. Nobody
That's the whole
told me
point.
that.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, we don't talk about that enough. Like, you're going to
No.
live many lives. Like, close friend of mine, she always talks about her past lives, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," because we really do live a lot of different lives. But, it's just kind of freeing in a way to be able to separate yourself from that being your sole identity, whether it be being a title holder, being maybe it's a career too, because
Yeah.
I think you can get very tied to that being your identity as well, and it's like, okay, when you peel that back
100%.
though, what actually makes me happy? I don't know,
Mhm.
right? Or like, what is something that I actually enjoy doing? It, yeah, it's been a very interesting journey and a lot of unlearning the people pleasing side of things too.
Yeah. No, I can completely agree.
Hmm.
Completely agree.
Definitely.
Oh, pageantry.
Oh, pageantry, exactly. Oh my goodness. But you went from pageantry to would you call it like influencer work or
Yeah.
doing like okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell me about that transition and the ways in which you really have like worked to protect your mental health while being in that space. Because that is another thing that I feel like you've done a good job of kind of sharing with
Mhm.
folks. Um,
Thank you.
but yeah, like how do you do that? How do you find that balance?
I think, because social media is so much of what I did when I was Miss America. I mean, oh my goodness, that was all I did. And it became a very natural progression into following me afterwards. And it was still relatively new as a career path. I knew that it was a career path because I was making good money and it was working and I loved it. I was able to connect with people and still continue some of my favorite parts as my reign, and it made sense. But I mean, people don't question it as a career path now, but 10 years ago it was very new at the time. Uh, I hesitate because I don't know if I do a good job. I think that so often, again, I process things internally and then I post things once I've processed them. So I think, yes, I post a lot about things that I have processed of the balance of it all, but it is a ongoing journey. I don't think there'll be a state of arrival with it because this life is constantly changing, our work is constantly changing. And I also hesitate more because I think the biggest jump was when I became a mom. And that adds a whole nother component to it that with work, I was even talking to Nate about this last night. It just kind of puts a whole different spin on it. But before I became a mom, putting this, intense boundary lines of what was going to be my work life and what was going to be social life, because those do bleed over into each other a lot. Putting in firm, hard boundaries as to what I was posting when I was posting and treating social media like a job and not treating it as something that was fun was extremely crucial just to even stay sane.
So you say it's a continuous journey. What are some of the things that you do now to actually like rest from work or unplug, would you say?
We have a healthy side and we have an unhealthy side. We have a healthy side of I very intentionally like work out whenever I have the opportunity. That is so crucial for my mental health as a human being is to I love classes. I love going to classes. That's just something that's good and healthy. I think finding things that are, a net positive for taking care of yourself is key. But then on the flip
Mhm.
side of it, it is very crucial for me to once I put my daughter down to bed, having or I'll put her to bed and the routine is I will clean up the house so that way it's nice, and then I will, like, watch my show for an hour and, like, turn my brain off and, like, rot. I don't know if it's not nothing wisdom, it's not wise. I don't know if I would encourage other people to do it, but it's key in my life, and I look
Mhm.
forward to it every day. But, I think having times and knowing, like, yes, I have a healthy version of myself of whenever I'm taking care of myself, but there's also things that I'm going to be like mindless about and
Yeah.
letting my body and my mind rest. Um, Other things as well. I love journaling. I do that every day and reading books that I know are smart, following accounts that I know only help me, unfollowing accounts that make
Mm.
me compare myself, that give me anxiety, um, making sure that I'm connected with people. Like we said earlier, it's we're long distance from a lot of people in our lives. My family and I have a lot of long distance friends. Being super hyper intentional whenever I'm outside walking to a place, I will always be on the phone with someone. I will always be calling my mom, my grandma, a friend that lives far away. I will be yapping to my destination from point A to point B. Are they helping me get there so I don't get bored? For sure, but it is also very good, uh, just for my heart to stay connected to people that are far away. That fills my cup a lot.
Mhm. And I do think, one, it's completely okay to watch your show and
I
rot,
agree,
and
I agree. Mine's been Grey's Anatomy as
I
of
don't
right
know.
now. It isn't it's giving me more
Oh.
anxiety at times, but, like, what are you gonna do? I have to watch it. I have to see what happens.
Like, are you fully caught up?
No, I just started it for the first time, like, 2 months ago.
Oh my
So I'm,
goodness.
like, in deep. So I'm, like, having revelations that people
Oh.
had 20 years ago. It's kind of embarrassing that it's taken me so long to get to it, but
No, it's so fun when you do that though, when especially because my husband and I are, binge watching Supernatural at the moment,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I that's very old too. And so I'm now having some of those realizations. I
You're like,
completely
"I
get what
get
you're
why people
saying.
were obsessed with this so long ago."
Yes, me too. And I very much was not a like series watcher until Netflix came out. And then I was
Yeah,
like, well, of course we all had to actually wait, first of all, for something to come out on prime time. But like
yeah,
think about what you were doing during prime time, however many years ago. You were probably like playing outside or like, I don't know, out and
yeah.
about
It
doing
didn't matter.
school activities. But no, keep up with Grace. It's kind of a mess where it's at right now, but once you get further in, you'll have to let me know
It's
what
a
you
little
think.
irresponsible, but I'm into it. Yeah.
One thing that you have been very open about is your loss that you
Mhm.
had.
Yes.
And was that like about a year ago, maybe?
2
No,
years ago
2
now.
years ago? Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I can't even imagine. I can't even begin to imagine what that felt like. And then to kind of openly share probably one of the hardest things you've ever gone through
Mhm.
with the world. First, I just want to say that that was a really selfless thing to do because
Feels very selfish to do because
really,
it healed me more than anything else did. Because it showed me, I mean, it's devastating how many people that's happened to. In the moment, it wasn't selfish. In the moment, I was scared and I literally threw my phone across the room and like Nate took it. Like whenever I
oh yeah,
shared first
because
thing
it's like,
about it,
what is
I
going
was
to
like,
happen?
he's like, don't look at it. He's like, you're not doing this. He's like, why are you doing this? And I was like, I'm doing this because, if one person feels comfort in it and if one person experienced this and now doesn't feel alone, then like that's the reason. Because that helped me when I was seeing people share about it. And he goes, okay, great. He goes, then you're not going to read the comments. You're not going to see anything. I'm going to take your phone. Like, and so I literally posted it and I didn't, he like took my entire phone. And that next morning, I mean, it was very overwhelming the amount of kindness people showed. And, I think, again, we say that no one leaves this life unscathed. I think it's like one in every four women, I think, experience a
Mhm.
miscarriage. I mean, I remember a doctor I met with said she thinks it's one every three just because of how often it happens nowadays. Doesn't make it any easier
Mhm.
whatsoever. But
Mhm.
it, yeah, it was awful. There was absolutely nothing that could make that better again except through time. And the pain that is still there, like I said earlier, the pain like it's very large. And whenever their like due date comes around, I get so sad just thinking of who they were. But the life grows around it. And there's this weird like dichotomy that I struggle with sometimes because if that baby would have come earthside, I would have never had my daughter. It would have been a different
Mhm.
baby. And I can't, it was always supposed to be Adeline. How do I rationalize those two feelings of um like feeling so guilty that they were never here, but knowing it was always supposed to be her, and I can't like that those two feelings contradict each other. And so we like to think or say that they like helped guide Addie here, and that helps
Mhm.
me process it a little bit more.
It's so heartbreaking to hear that it is 1 in 4 or,
Mhm.
1 in 3, whatever it may be, women that go through it, and I think one thing that you did when you shared is that you gave life to it for other people.
Yeah, it was very, I mean, I'm very like glad that I did it. And it every time
Mhm,
around that year, I think I've reshared something similar about it on the day that it happens each time, just because there
mhm,
was, I think, again, there's so much comfort in community. And there's been so many women that who have messaged me on Instagram and that I don't know other than through the app, but like it's like in Grey's Anatomy. This is so not
mhm.
what I should be saying, but you know how I can't believe I made Grey's Anatomy reference. This is honestly embarrassing. In Grey's Anatomy, Christina Yang, season
Mhm,
whatever. Um,
mhm,
she said, "Welcome to the Dead Dads Club." There's like this, like it's a
mm,
terrible club to be a part of, but when there's a collective trauma of, I remember even my sister-in-law, um, Nate's sister, her pregnancy was a miscarriage, and there wasn't a whole new level of sisterhood that we connected over. And she was like, "You don't want to be a part of this club, but it's a club that will connect like you to so many women on a different level." And there's women in my life that who I'm very close to that I had no idea that they had
mhm,
a
mhm,
miscarriage. And so it's this crazy thing. I mean, being vulnerable and having that strengthen you is not a revolutionary idea. I think Brene Brown's talk that went viral talking about it, and it's so true. I think so often we think that keeping things close and hidden will make them go away. Um, that always has the opposite effect. They always fester and grow until something cracks. And I often find the quicker that we talk about things, the easier they are to unravel and detangle outside of us,
mhm,
um, rather than just letting them grow. But it's wild. And that's another thing too, that it's it's weird talking about it now that I know how the story ends, right? Not that my
mm,
story's over, but now that I know that there ends with redemption and that it ends with like this beautiful rainbow of my daughter, it's a very sweet, and I'm so privileged I get to share this story with the comfort of that knowledge. But I know
mhm,
that a lot of people are right in the middle of that gray cloud storm, and there's like no worse place to be for sure.
mhm. And it's the Dead Dads Club. I totally get what you're saying by that. It's just kind of like, hey, you're not alone in
Mhm.
this. Um, and I do think pregnancy loss is just such a tender topic as
Mhm.
well that it is very easy for someone to not share about it. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
the more that like I think about Chrissy Teigen. I remember when
Yeah.
she and John Legend lost, I want to say their baby's name was Jack. So I remember when she shared that, and there were even women that I had went to school with that were sharing it and sharing their own stories of it happening to them as well. Um, I really think it's a discussion that we are having a bit more, but there were also people that I learned that were close to me that had experienced it. And it's also just it's kind of crazy how common it is because it's almost like previously you didn't hear about it nearly as much. And so it's
No.
surprising when you realize that a lot of women and a lot of families have gone through this, but I have a feeling that that really helped some people. And my little brother, David, I was actually just having a talk with my mom about this the other day. So I come from a blended family. I have like five, how many of, there's five siblings, and, but just spread across different families. And my dad and his wife at the time, um, they experienced the loss of who would have been a little brother for me.
Mm.
And they had already picked out his name as David. Now, on my mom's side, she got pregnant maybe about a year or two later, and that's my little brother's name,
Oh,
David.
wow.
And so they named him David for being a fighter because she ended up having a really difficult pregnancy. She was on bed rest for the last few months just because very high risk. At one point, they thought that they had lost him. And so uh, we always called him a miracle baby. And he also came on January 1st. So he's a lot of things. Like, he's the first baby, he was a miracle baby, his name means strength. Um, but yeah, I was reminded of I've done a lot of work with grief in the past few years because of just quite a few personal losses. And one thing that I keep hearing a lot about is like you get to see all your people. You get to see all your people on the other side. And even I think it's so cool when you hear those stories about like great great grandparents or something, and um little kids seeing them. I'm into all of that. I'm into all
No,
things
I love it. Yeah.
spiritual, and
Those are the
because I'm
TikToks
like,
that get served at 3 a.m.
and I go down every rabbit hole with it,
Every
but
single one. Yeah.
every single one. But yeah, I really do believe that you know, our loved ones that we just didn't get a chance to meet, we will get to meet them, or that's
Yeah.
what I like to hold on to at least.
Me too. Me too.
Mhm. I can imagine that your self-care and just, really caring for yourself probably looks different now.
I think the biggest thing that I just think about is just giving ourselves grace. The knowledge of everything passing is, you know, a gift that hindsight gives us. And every time I've come through something, and whenever I think about the miscarriage, I mean, I did spend probably a week in bed, I think, and
Mm.
I I just did not do a thing. I think I just rested, and at that time, I felt so guilty for it. Like, I couldn't, like, there
Mm.
was this, habitual, like, I need to do this. I feel guilty for it. So I'm more anxious. No, I need to do this again. And it just keeps going in the circle. And then looking back, even, a few months later, I was like, probably should have taken an extra week. You know what I'm saying? You look back and you're like, I was pushed, like, I could have handled even more grace given to myself. And so I
Mm.
think that that's whenever I think of any time that, grief hits us, or a hard amount of emotions hits us, taking the time to process, I think, is crucial. And I think that's always just a huge indicator of, how much we're healing from something. It's just money of grace that we can give ourselves. And that's much easier saying done than me saying this on the outside. The next time something traumatic hits me, I'm going to be like, all right, I got to get over this in like 30 minutes flat, and they're going to move on. But it's, I think, something that is a lesson that I'm still learning.
I mean, I can only imagine. And I think too, though, at least having that intentionality and like working out, you say that like working out is like your thing. Like that's
Mhm.
like, is it? Okay. What is it about working out that, like really does it
You just
for
gotta
you?
you gotta find your right class. You gotta find the right class that you love. So,
Mhm.
I, like, love going to, those, like, boxing classes that it's all, like, black lights, and there's, like, a DJ in the front, and we're,
What?
like, punching to, like, a club music. So that's what I'm saying, you just gotta find your thing. Maybe it's those bungee cord ropes that, like, look like insane workouts. Maybe it's one of those. But you just gotta find something that, like, makes you happy, and, it makes me super happy, or, like, I've started redoing, like, adult ballet classes, like, things like that, that it just I think it's important to kind of just treat yourself like a plant, like, get yourself sunlight, water, and move a little bit, and moving is so important. Do you remember your state intro at Miss America?
Oh
Like,
my
the or did
yes,
y'all
but
see
they
our
wouldn't let us
Cosmo?
I was gonna say, they didn't let us have the cool ones. So
That's so lame, I'm so
and
sorry. That's
it
so
was
annoying.
also the time where not to just, pull out the sad little violin right now, but,
No,
this is also
respect.
when there was the whole thing where people weren't or we weren't Miss. We weren't Miss anything. We were state. Yeah, I know.
In my state, we don't have to wait, hold up. Let me snap into place. My bangs are missing, and they're part of the act. So in my state, you don't have to wait to get a diamond, we can dig up our own because 'cause we're the diamond
Oh,
state.
oh, oh,
It was good. It was good.
wait, but that
It was
is
good.
so good.
Is
That
it?
is so good,
It's better.
honestly.
It probably was the
Well,
better one to use, but I loved it.
I mean, ours were always about either corn
I was gonna say.
or,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Okay.
corn or hogs, pigs.
Uh-huh.
Like, somebody's intro was coming to you. I can't remember who said this, but it was like coming to you from the state that has more pigs than people.
Yeah, I
I
love that.
am Miss
I love that.
Iowa.
See,
So,
that's what it's all about.
what is motherhood like for you? What has that journey been like?
I will, try to condense. It was without a doubt the most transformative, experience of my life. I don't think I'll experience a greater change in my life beyond that. And I had a lot of people around me prep me for that change, so thankfully I was prepared for that. But I love it. I'm so thankful for it. It's the best thing ever. Anytime someone tells me that they're thinking of entering that phase of life, I just get so excited for them because it has just it's just so much more colorful. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, like because there's really like insane, delirious, delusional, tired, crazy crying parts, but you experience an infinite more amount of joy, creativity, love, experience, empathy, patience. I feel like it just expands you, and I'm so thankful for it. I feel very, very grateful. I like it a lot more than I thought that I would, which I'm very thankful for.
Oh, well, good. That's beautiful, and so beautiful to hear. And yeah, I can't imagine what that change is like, but um, it's gotta be really cool just to see a human that,
It will never get old. It's so weird.
yeah,
It is so weird. It is the strangest thing ever. It is the
you're like,
strangest thing
I
ever.
kind of created you. Like that's
It's super
wild.
weird. Like even last night, she woke up at 3 in the morning and I'm in her room and I'm rocking her and I'm like, you look like me. And it's weird. Like, I know this. She's been around for over a year, but I'm like, what? It will never get old.
Mhm.
It's the best. Yeah, I'm so thankful.
Mhm. And you consider her to be your rainbow baby as well.
Yeah, yeah, totally, absolutely. And I mean, such a like, I'm so grateful and so thankful to have even been pregnant, let alone get to have her. And she's just a blast. I mean, I think that that's not to say that, there was a few months that I really, really struggled because that's such a life shift of an adjustment to, um, I mean, I remember I used to think that I was busy, and I know that I was. Like, I know that I was busy. Like, I was doing things all the time, but I'm like, what was I doing? Because nowadays, like, there's no free time. It's just like every moment I have has to be like very intentional and thought about, because there's another human involved that could wake up any moment. So we
Yes,
got to
I'm
be
like,
prepared.
it's how long does she usually nap for? Because I know.
It's literally a roll of the dice. It is a
Oh,
roll of the dice. We will find out. We will find out. She'll probably wake up any moment now. She's been asleep for about, I'm like looking at the clock, 45 minutes. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
mhm.
Ish.
No, that's
We'll
really
see.
good.
Maybe, maybe 50. I don't know. I'm actually kind of surprised he hasn't woken up yet.
Oh, no, that's
But
good. She
it's
needed her beauty
fantastic.
rest.
And I think, I mean, we're talking about miscarriage, talking about, I mean, the road to creating a family, is insane for everyone. Yeah, I think that's something that I've learned in just kind of being in that stage of life with my friends who are in that same path of, you never know how long it'll take. When it does take, will it stick? When it sticks, are they healthy? There's so much out of your control that is super hard to kind of hold your hands open to. Um, but there's just so much magic in it. It's such a weird, like, it's just like just magic. You're just like, this is nuts. This concept of there being a brand new person in my life that is mine, that will always be there, is wild. It's so weird.
Mhm.
I love it.
You're like, "It's really strange, but it's great."
It is. I mean, it's the only way to think. I mean, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me, without a doubt. It's fantastic. I
Mm.
like recommend it to everyone. Let me phrase that. I recommend it to everyone that wants that in life.
Mm,
People don't, and that's
absolutely.
totally fine too. But if that's something
Mhm.
that you want, yeah, best. Mhm.
I love how I'm, like, really thinking about that. I got married in July, so it hasn't been a full year, and
Yeah. Oh,
those that aren't
you'll get
close
asked
to
that
me.
question the next day. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, they're like, "Oh, great, like, now is time." I'm like, "No, now is not the time." But, we do want kids in our future, but I always think about if, like, we didn't necessarily want kids, um, or maybe if we had, what if we had struggled to have kids? I think what I'm
It's
trying
never an
to.
okay question to ask unless you are on a very deep emotional base with that person, is how I view it.
Yes, okay.
Like, unless the person has brought that up, I just think that that is a question that I will never ask a person, nor
Mm,
should anyone ask you. That is such a personal journey that comes with so much, sometimes pain, and you have no idea
mm.
what someone else is living through. Um, so I mean, I always err on the side. I'm shocked that people still ask that question. I feel like it's 2025. We should know that that's just something that we don't
We should
ask
know.
people.
And
But people are still learning, so we'll give them a little bit of grace. But
do you think it's something that is shifting?
I definitely do. I think on social media too, we're seeing so many people that are like, "Hey, this is weird because I have been trying for years. So please stop DMing me XYZ." You know what I mean?
Mm,
I've had friends who are in the social media space who are very open with their like trying to conceive journey, or I have friends who do not want to speak about it. And again, that's everyone's journey. That's no one, if someone is vocal and they want to be, that's great. But as soon as they put that, like, okay, I'm not going to be vocal anymore, then I think we have to respect that. And
Mhm.
again, it's just something that's such an intimate thing that it's a beautiful thing if someone wants to share about it, but I don't think there's any type of pressure or no one owes anyone anything. Um, that's a very different, yeah,
Yeah, it's 2025, we should not be asking that anymore.
yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to support a friend or a loved one through that?
It's important. That's my dog. It's the same way that I think it's important to show up for however we show up for people that are going through grief is to just show up. I think what we
Yeah.
find and when you go through something is like when people ask you, "Hey, how can I help you?" I have no idea how you can help me. Can you do my dishes? Can you like and you're not gonna ask
Mhm,
that of someone. I think that,
mhm.
and you don't know until you know things that were so helpful for me were when people would just send food over. So I didn't have to think about dinner or when a friend would come
Yeah.
over and she would clean my fridge. That takes such a mental load off that's not related to the issue, but your lives all conjoined and connected. That still helps so much from another point of view. So I think just showing up for people and checking in, but without a caveat of, hey, I'm texting you to let you know that I'm thinking of you, don't respond. You don't have the energy to respond, but I'm here for you regardless.
Mhm.
I think that that's a narrative that I think people are talking more and more about that's so helpful. But I think just showing up and being intentional for people is key.
Mhm. And everybody's going to be a little different too, but just having the intentionality of wanting to show up, I think is
Yeah.
good.
Yep. And that means more than anything.
Mhm. Definitely. Well, what's next? What are you looking forward to currently?
It's so funny. So this is what I was talking to Nate last night is that I feel like I don't have an answer to that question for the first time in my life because
Mhm.
of the season of life that I'm in. And I think I was battling with feeling that that wasn't a good enough answer. I think, I felt a little like lacking is the word for not having an answer to that question. But when I think of what I want my life to look like, I want to think that I was all in on this season of life when my daughter needs me so much and being okay with that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Being okay with just being like mom for when they're tiny and little because she won't need me this much for long. And it's the best and I love it. I feel such an honor and privilege to get to do it. And so that's my answer. What's next is dinner time or after nap snack is what's next.
I was gonna say, I'm like, well, she's gonna wake up soon, and then,
And then
all of it will
we'll grab
start
a
again.
cheese stick and it'll be great.
Ah,
And it will be good.
she's the best.
It's super fun. It really is. It's the best. It's fantastic. But I think it's just rewiring what my definition of success looks like in this season.
Absolutely, and you're
And
right, oh, did we both
no,
just
I thought I interrupted you. You go.
oh, no, you're right. It makes me think of, back to when Miss America was, like, the biggest part of your identity, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, "Okay, now it's time for me to find the next identity to latch
Mhm.
onto."
Yep,
Um, and so you're always thinking about what's next? What are these goals? What is this? And so yeah, just take the time, just be present, just enjoy. It's gotta be such a
exactly.
fun season, and you're right,
It is
she's gonna be only this tiny for so long.
for so long. And then it'll be even better. And I'll worry about what I'll do next then. But for right now, my energy is directed elsewhere.
Absolutely. Are you gonna have her do pageants?
I don't think so. If she
Oh.
if she herself has a burning desire and if she asks about it, then of course I'm not gonna like hinder her from doing that. But and I think that's what we're gonna do with everything. I will if
Mm.
she wants to do that, then yeah, we're gonna go all in. It'll be super fun. But that's not something that I'm going to project on her in any way.
Oh, good. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what most of my friends that now
Yeah.
have kids say the same thing,
Totally.
but
Like, she'll know about it, like, we'll watch funny videos, but that will not be something that I ever suggest to her. I think that it's important that that's something she wants to do on her own.
mhm, absolutely. Oh, but you really could have a little Miss America. How cool is that? Oh my gosh. What is it that gives you hope?
I mean, first off, my faith, without a doubt. But I think also what gives me hope is, in life, I think so often I waited for happiness and joy to be something that happened to me externally. And if we wait for it and we wait for it to happen to us, I think we'll always be seeking it. But when I found that if we seek it out and if we create it and if we count our blessings, focus on gratitude, and we seek out happiness and create it, we find that it's in abundance. And I think that that always gives me hope. And especially just seeing life anew through my daughter's eyes um, has made everything that much more colorful. And it's very easy to get cynical, but it's very joyful seeing how she sees the world.
Thank you again for tuning in to the Hope Mindset podcast, and be sure to get connected with us on social media. You can find us anywhere with the @name @HowAboutHope. And stay tuned for more episodes. Go out there, spread some love, spread some light, and you'll hear from us soon.